Welcome back. You're listening to Riddim FM, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. I'm your friend Vernon Derby. Continue to stay with us. And of course, coming up right now is Real Estate Matters. And my friend, our friend is here, the expert. Where is she? She actually here?
I'm here.
Gabrielle Gilpin Hudson, how are you, lawyer, realtor, there in the beautiful city of Montego Bay? That's where you are now?
I'm actually in Kingston today. Don't fight me.
No, I don't have a problem with that. After you promised me that you'd even pass so we can't even see you and said this is you, I don't believe you at all. You know, come look for me.
I know.
If I did have your husband number, I called him same time and tell him that this is grounds for divorce. She treat her friend very poorly.
No, man. I will just come and look for you maybe next week Friday.
You know. You see how you sweet me up? It's great to have you once again. And I'm sure you will want to run back to the beautiful city of Montego Bay. I must say I love Montego Bay. I love the beach and so on. So, what's happening out there? I've been getting some calls about the road work there that is taking place in St. Thomas, and somebody said, Vernon, with it done, you see, boy, only multimillionaires will be able to buy properties out there. So that is something else. So what has been happening across the country as far as real estate is concerned?
Well, definitely what you said, Vernon. We're seeing a lot of resources being deployed into infrastructure improvement. So Montego Bay, certainly we have some road improvement programs going on, particularly as it relates to improving the drainage, road marking. I saw that the government announced that they're undertaking a massive road marking initiative because so many of our roads do not have proper road markings on there.
I know.
And those things kind of lead to accidents and bad driving. It will be interesting to see if the road markings help to curtail the bad driving because, boy, you have to be so careful when you drive in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Also for Montego Bay, we have the Montego Bay Bypass Road, which is slated to be constructed, and that is supposed to be a major game changer for Montego Bay because what it will do is it will give persons who, for example, are traveling on to Hanover or even to the South Coast to bypass the city of Montego Bay and not have to go through, the regular traffic channels such as, the Bottom Road, Top Road, Alice Eldemar Drive, which gets very congested in the evenings and the mornings. So that should be a very big game changer and create value in the real estate in those areas that are along the bypass road, because now we'll have a whole nother road, a main road that's cutting through, so you have more opportunity for stores, gas stations, residential, and so on. So that will be a game changer for sure. Even the highway project, the South Coast highway project there,
right,
and the St. Thomas leg, that's going to be a game changer, opening up Portland a bit more. So, now is a great time to be looking at Portland for opportunities because it's only going to get easier to get there from, the major airports. So that's really what we want to kind of work on, because the better that we're connected as an island is the more persons in rural areas can plug into the economic activity happening, and the more that, the island can be accessible for trade and tourism.
And that to be good news. As a matter of fact, what I'm hoping for, and I know that this will make a big difference to as far as real estate is concerned. For one, I wasn't too excited about the highways because I said, well, it's nice to have it, especially for the tourists. But for Jamaicans, and a friend of mine, yes, he agreed with me that it is going to be costly to maintain the highways, and it's going to be expensive, especially with the cost of toll. Therefore, you can't think of living in Ocho and traveling to Kingston on a daily basis to work. It just can't work. And we see that happening right now. Even the persons living in Portmore. But I contend that if we develop the railway system and we have a railway system right across the island, can you imagine? Those who are in the tourism sector there in Montego Bay, you know the problem with the workers there who have to leave from probably Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth to come to work in Montego Bay. And what they end up of doing, they can't afford the rent, so they have to now capture a little place. Now, if we were able to have the railway traveling very efficient system, that could take persons from all over and carry them to Montego Bay. You jump off your train and you're going to work. Know?
So, I think, you hitting the nail on the head that our public transportation system,
very bad.
Overhaul, and it affects the labor capacity, for sure. Persons we're losing productivity as well. To sit in traffic for hours, and those things are not good for not only the productivity of the country but also the mental health of the country, because if the amount of time that people spend.
Don't even go back there, because it can't help you again. Me cannot help you mentally. Me not asking you, what are we gone, And I'm glad you mentioned that, I believe is because of the environment, the economic challenges, the problem with the transportation, is stress, is argument everywhere you go. So I find that everybody knows stress out. So if you look at somebody and laugh, they might ask you what you find funny. And then if you all want to fight you too. It's amazing. So you are absolutely right. If we can make the infrastructure such that it caters for the people and ease the tension, then how we relate to one another, I'm sure, will improve dramatically.
Most definitely.
Then there's something I know you have probably about some things I want. I'm not going to go into details because I don't know if you have been able to look at it in detail, and that is, I hear the Prime Minister in his budget speech. I'm now looking at something in the papers. It says that prospective homeowners who are contributors to the National Housing Trust will in a matter of months be able to benefit from a 15% increase in the loan limit offered by the agency.
Yes, I saw that, and that in and of itself, I want to say is a game changer, Vernon, but it is also a little bit late in the day because house prices have gone up so much that
exactly
really, so the thing about it is that NHT benefit acts as somewhat of a benchmark for developers in terms of them being able to produce affordable housing solutions. So before it was at 6.5, that means that developer says, okay, well, I need to try and be able to do something for 13. So that if somebody is only able to get NHT and not able to get any extra financing, otherwise it needs to fit into that bucket. Now what we're basically saying is, okay, we're taking that 13 up to 15.
Yeah.
Yes, housing solutions can be produced at 15, but what we're going to be producing at that price point is really, going back to the same mental health argument, where you live, where you drive to get to work, where you go to school, the conditions all have an impact on your mentality and your mental health. And
exactly.
we have to look at what kind of solutions we're able to produce at that price point to make sure that people are able to have a dignified place to live. It is necessary to provide housing, and a house is better than no house. But at the same time, what kind of housing are you providing for that point? So,
and let me tell you what I think.
To balance.
My concern, Gabriel, what guides us in determining the level at which we give loans? That's we hear that it has increased, and of course, but the person says, praise the Lord! But it's like they are starved for 10 days. And then they just give a little food, they can jump through the roof. I'm not being awful, I'm being very realistic. If the trust and if the money that they have can allow for a greater amount in terms of loans, then we need to go for it, because my understanding is that the place is full of cash. And that is why we're able to help out many, but yet out many. Oh, we help out many, but many were not helped. I know the trouble I'm making. You understand me?
But it's true though.
And then we can look on housing trust and say, there's a hole in the budget, Mr. Fine Minister. And the Prime Minister answers, you can fill it with the NHT, Mr. Finance Minister. Fill it with the NHT. And guess what? That was not what the NHT was set up for. So I have a concern about that. If the funding is there, use it fully for housing. Don't tell the people, say, set up housing trust, and next you know, a little piece of it I got this, a little piece I got this. No, I don't. It comes across as a system being dishonest, and if the system is dishonest, then the rest of us will follow back on you. All right. So let me see. It said the NHT will continue to provide 100% financing for its scheme unit, subject to the availability of funding for such purposes. And that is something we need to look at. That is a good thing. But one thing that I didn't hear that I have been pushing for is reverse mortgage. I'm sure I mentioned that while you're on the program.
You did.
That is something I'm hoping the government don't wait till 10, 20 years' time. No, we need to have a look at it, and especially those persons who are retired and they don't have the kind of cash flow. If you give them a reverse mortgage, and by the way, if you do that, you can't lose. Can you imagine somebody that has a house valued at say $40 million, and you pay them probably $200,000 a month? They might only live for 10 years, right? No, you'll be helping that person. You'll be helping the economy also, because that person's disposable income will increase. Then when that person dies, the person probably only spend spend 10 million on the person. Have another probably 30 million left. And you can now sell that house to someone now, NHT contributor who probably can't afford a big house like that. I just think, help me. If you think it makes sense, I'd love you to help me and your association. That's the Realtors Association to push that one, because I can't do it alone.
Right.
So,
I mean, I definitely think that, even not even just looking at the reverse mortgages alone, but just being open to being more inclusive in our mortgage financing and what we can offer. I think that's something that we definitely need to lobby for. And I think also what we need to lobby for is being a little bit more creative in ways that we can kind of stimulate and encourage the right type of housing that we need to be developed, and not, things that we have a surplus of, which is what developers are more attracted to developing. So what you're seeing right now is a surplus of apartments, these luxury apartments in the Kingston area, which a lot of them are going unsold or unoccupied.
Really?
They're being bought or not occupied. So what you can do in the evening when you drive past an apartment complex in the evening, count how many lights are on, and that can kind of give you an idea of the occupancy level of the
So hold on, but they must lose out on that. What effect that is going to have on the sector if they are investing their monies and the persons are not taking up these places? Then it must be a challenge. And if you live in a complex which is not occupied, or significant parts of it are not occupied, then security, maintenance to be paid. I'm just trying to figure. This is something that I'm learning about for the first time. I didn't even know that. When you have apartment building and probably, so hold on, the investors now would be responsible for that, the maintenance for those units that have not been sold?
If they're not sold, yes. So the developer is responsible for them until they are sold. But in a lot of times they are sold. They're just not being used or occupied. A lot of persons maybe bought it and tried to rent it out and finding that they can't.
Oh, I see what you mean. They probably bought it as a form of investment. And them they fancy place. So how many persons can afford to pay the rent? And they would have to pay the kind of rent they would have to pay. They have to pay so that you can pay your mortgage. I want you to pursue that some more, because I find that to be very interesting. I haven't heard it discussed anywhere in the media. Probably it has been, but I haven't heard. This is quite significant because, now I'm not a business person, but if you get capital tied up like that, it could have a negative impact on that sector, because it means, therefore, you would have the kind of turnover in terms of your capital, so you can now invest in other developments. Am I correct?
Pretty much.
What do you think could be done? Do you think government need to lead or to speak to the issue, or what can they do? Any policies that you think the government can come up with, or we just have to educate persons some more? Because if you ask me, it reminds me, not as bad as that, but it reminds me of these Ponzi schemes that persons are always looking of some way of investing because, when you reach retirement age, it is a real challenge. So persons probably need to be educated and say, listen, don't spend the money and buy the expensive apartments there because you can't rent it out.
That's where the realtors come in, though, Vernon, and we definitely do. When you have a very good realtor, they give you that advice. So that's why I always recommend persons work with a realtor.
But you know what they're going to tell you? You guys are too expensive, so they're not going to come to you.
But no, because our realtor is free to the buyer. The realtor's commission generally is paid by the person who has put the property up for sale. So when you as a buyer want to buy property and ask me to help you look for it, and we find something, you don't pay my commission. I'm free to you as the buyer.
You know how many times you have said that? And let me tell you something. Don't be surprised if you go up there and there's that perception still. I would be surprised. And I just find that persons are reluctant to go to professionals to conduct business on their behalf, especially lawyers. You take up some things and do it on your own. You're courting trouble a lot of the times. You don't do that. All right, we have another 5 minutes left. I'm sure you have other information you want to share with us about that sector. But I've learned quite a bit today because I wasn't even aware that a number of apartments, what do you call them, the high-end apartments are there and not being taken up by persons. I didn't even know that. Yeah, Gabriel?
Yes, it's so true. People, when you have resources available to you, especially for little or no cost, you need to take advantage of it.
All right. Okay, we have another few minutes, but I tell you what, any other point you want to make? And of course, let us know exactly how we can make contact with you.
Sure. So my name is Gabrielle Grant Gilpin Hudson. I am a partner in the law firm Grant Henry and Rooms, and you can find us online. Our website is www.ghrlegal.com. You can also find me on Instagram at gabby.grant. And, reach out and we can have a conversation about how I can help you with your real estate needs. I think with everything happening in Jamaica now, some of it doesn't sound great, but there's still opportunity. And the key is to make sure that you're educated and working with a professional that knows what they're doing. So happy to help anybody that is looking for that kind of professional guidance.
All right. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day, Gabrielle. You have a great day. Until next week. All right. We do it all over again. Gabrielle Gilpin Hudson. Have a wonderful day. Great talking with you.
Thank you. You too, Auntie, your listener.
Oh, yes.
Never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try. Yeah. Oh, yes. Let me get my words right and then approach you. Woman, I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry.